about, because I know that before I went into coaching, I actually thought coaching was, I go to you and you tell me what to do. If I need to know something, you're going to fix me, and when I come out of the room, I'm going to know everything. I really did think that's what coaching was, and I think really the whole focus is that the individual has within them the power, the knowledge, the know-how to get to where they want to go themselves.
That's something that we try to tell self-help consumers a lot, that sometimes we have noticed some self-help figures will sort of present themselves as having all the answers, whereas I can hear from both of you that you're saying the coach is trying to help the consumer realize they have the answers and they're just help pulling it forward.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot.
It really is a process. And I always think you got to be careful when people say, well, what should I do? Well, I don't know. I've known you for 15 minutes. You want me to tell you what to do?
Right.
I can't tell you that, but I can ask you some questions to help you get there.
Right.
And that's the difference. And I think there are a lot of people out there who do call themselves coaches without the certifications and all of that, who are saying, just do these 3 things and your life will be perfect. And you got to be careful. And I think for the consumer, just kind of the baseline is, are they telling you or are they asking you?
Mm-hmm.
And if they're telling you this is what you have to do if you want to be successful, who are they to tell you? And again, read it. Maybe you get something out of it, but don't assume that it is gospel truth for across the board. Kind of take it for what it's worth,
right.
as opposed to thinking that now I have to uproot and change my entire life to live this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because one of the things we've seen with that sort of tendency to tell people this is the answer, this is what you have to do, if and when it doesn't work for them, then that person assumes a lot of blame. They take it on themselves that, oh, this person who obviously is telling me they have all the answers told me to do this and it didn't work. It must be something wrong with me.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's a real concern that we have in terms of consumers and the danger that it poses to their sort of emotional and mental health when they're working with someone who's really not qualified to be guiding them.
It's funny, when I started, I went just to have the credential, and I was a little snarky, thinking, I've already been doing this work. What could they possibly really teach me? I just want the letters after my name so that I could say to people, yes, I have this credential. And when I went through the training, I realized, I was further along than many people because I had been doing some sort of form of counseling and advising. But this opened up, I hate to be melodramatic, but I always say it really did change my life, because not only now do I have the tools to help my clients, but it just gave me a whole different way to view life. And so it really is a self-discovery process, but you really can't help other people in self-discovery unless you really open up to do it yourself. And it's through that process. But I think the credentialing is important because a lot of people are just calling themselves a coach. And I had this conversation with a friend of mine. He calls himself a coach. And I'm like, wait, I said, did you get certified? He's like, I don't need to be certified. And I said, you kind of do. If you want to call yourself like you're a communication advisor, but you're not a coach. It's very different because you are being instructive. I'm not instructive. I have sometimes hybrid pieces of information that I can share with people, a knowledge base around careers and career transition and all of that. But at the end of the day, I don't say this is what you need to do.
Right.
And I think that's the difference. And understand that.
I love your experience there, Kathleen, of, having done some of the work before then actually getting the certification and finding like a little humility there from what you thought you knew.
Right.
Because that's something, again, that we talk about with in self-help. Sometimes people have an amazing story that's inspirational. Sometimes people have a knack for inspiring or motivating people. People will just have this natural aptitude, like you were saying as well, Eilish. But I think there's a lot of value in going through a more rigorous training and certification process to sort of learn what you don't know. Like, you can't know what you don't know yet. And I think that's something, a problem that a lot of sort of gurus get into sometimes. So.
But to start off, you do need 60 hours of training for the ICF, and I'd say it's similar for EMCC, I don't know. And there's the Association for Coaching. And then you have to have 100 hours of coaching to become an ACC coach, and you must present a recording. So there is a responsibility on the trainee to produce a recording, and that's assessed by an external assessor for ICF and internal to ICF. And that's the first step on the ladder, if you like. You become an associate.
Yeah. So I like all of these points. I hear, seeing if the certification is sort of backed by something more robust. Eilish, you were also speaking about the number of hours that people put into their training, which is interesting as well. Getting some sense of their background and other clients. I think these are all great tips for consumers who are
what I do, like I have a contract of agreement, and I outline that to the whoever it is and what my role is as a coach and what I expect from them. And then I also have a section what I expect from myself, what I expect from you, and then all that other part of agreement, like what's confidential. The confidentiality is central to like I always think, no matter what the conversation is, if confidentiality is expressed, then it only works if that's maintained for both parties. And for me, that's an essential part of coaching. So
right.
It's very interesting you say that, and that's something that we want to stress. A true certified coach is going to make you sign some kind of an agreement before they start the coaching process. Somebody who just calls themselves coach may not do that. And so that's a really good sort of distinction for you.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
It's always interesting because when someone will tell me that my therapist said, in a coaching session, I will often sort of stop there and say, okay, there's a distinction between what that person does and what I do. And if I'm ever sort of kind of, as we're thinking through things that you might want to do, if it's something your therapist says is not the right way to go, you got to trust that. That person has a training that I don't have, and they may see more things than I see. So you want to be really careful. Or if it stumbles into an area, I know enough to ask some diagnostic questions, and then to be able to say, this is not something that I can be helpful with. Really, do you have a therapist? Are you in therapy? Or, I can make a recommendation if that's helpful, but that's sort of beyond the scope of what I'm able to help you with. You really do have to say those things. Eilish, is that?
Yeah, and I would say, in the initial coaching agreement, it's something that's drilled into you in the training with any ICF accredited, that we make it very, very clear to the client or the person sitting in front of us that it's not counseling. It's not giving advice. We're not going to give you advice. We're going to work with you to be your best self. So
yeah, I love that idea that, as a coach, you're sort of open to your own growth as you become more experienced, as you get more training. And again, that's something that, like we were saying before, a bit of that humility, like Kathleen experienced as well at the beginning of her career, and understanding that you don't, even though you're sort of the one who is being contracted to work with a client, you don't have all the answers either. And understanding that, I think, is a really great perspective to have.